Before we start, take a moment to like and subscribe. A boy, born with a blood clot in his hand, is seen by his father as a sign of a great destiny to come. But his story is not about what he was promised, but what he had to endure to claim it. Betrayed and abandoned by his own people, Temujin's childhood is a crucible of suffering and vengeance, a brutal training ground for the conqueror he would one day become. Born into the Borjigin clan in the 1160s, Temujin's life begins in a hostile world of warring Mongol clans, where survival is a daily struggle. The vast, treeless steppe, with its biting winds and extreme temperatures, offered no quarter to the weak. At just 9 years old, his father, a respected clan leader, is poisoned by a rival tribe, the Tatars, while returning from a journey. The death of his father is a catastrophic blow. His own clan, fearing the vulnerability of a young leader and his family, abandons them on the unforgiving steppe. They are stripped of their possessions and left to fend for themselves in a brutal and unforgiving landscape. An act of betrayal that seared itself into Temujin's young mind. His mother, Holin, is a formidable woman whose strength and resilience become Temujin's first and most profound lessons. She teaches her children to survive by foraging, hunting, and fishing in frozen streams. They are constantly on the move, facing starvation, constant threat, and intense internal strife. It is during these years that Temujin learns to be ruthless, even killing his older half-brother Bektar over a petty dispute. This chilling sign of his capacity for decisive violence makes the boy who would become a legend first a captive, a slave, and an outcast. This early life of fear and betrayal forged an ambition that would one day consume the world. His brutal enslavement by the Taoxied, enduring torture and forced to wear a kang, was a deeply formative experience. His daring escape and brutal retribution against his captors solidified his core belief: to survive, one must be in control, and betrayal must be punished with unforgiving finality. Temujin doesn't conquer the world with brute force alone. He unites his people with a terrifying promise of total war against all who betrayed him. His return to power is a masterclass in diplomacy, charisma, and ruthless cunning. He builds a small but fiercely loyal following, a brotherhood based not on blood ties, but on personal merit and a terrifying commitment to a single cause: conquest and domination. His rise is a complex web of alliances and betrayals. He befriends his blood brother, Jamuka, and forms a critical bond with Tigray, the powerful leader of the Carrot clan, using these alliances to gain strength and defeat his enemies. The first major twist comes when he captures the very clan that once enslaved him. Instead of a simple execution, he boils their leaders alive, a gruesome and theatrical act that sent a chilling message of retribution. This act of cold-blooded justice becomes a hallmark of his reign, a warning to all who might consider treachery. The most profound twist, however, is his eventual, inevitable split with his blood brother. Their rivalry grows until they are open enemies, and their conflict becomes a symbolic battle for the soul of the Mongol nation, one based on traditional clan loyalty versus a new order based on meritocracy. Temujin's ideology was revolutionary. He promoted soldiers based on their skill and courage, not on their lineage, a concept that upended centuries of tribal hierarchy. In a decisive battle, Temujin defeats Jamuka and, in a shocking move, instead of executing him, offers him a place in his new army. When Jamuka refuses, Genghis grants him an honorable death without spilling his blood, a testament to the respect he still held for a man who had been his brother. In 1206, after decades of brutal warfare, Temujin convenes a great Kurultai, a council of Mongol chiefs, where he unites all the Mongol clans and is given the name Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. This is a monumental achievement that sets the stage for a new kind of empire, a machine of conquest fueled by a unified, disciplined, and terrifyingly efficient army. He establishes a new legal code, the Yasa, which governed every aspect of Mongol life, from military organization to daily customs. It was a law that transcended tribal affiliations, making every Mongol a subject of a single, unified state. He reforms the military, organizing his soldiers by a decimal system in units of tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s, a revolutionary concept that shattered tribal loyalties in favor of a single, unified purpose. This military structure created a level of discipline and coordination previously unknown on the steppe, and it was the engine that would drive the greatest territorial expansion in history. Genghis Khan's greatest legacy is his reputation for unparalleled violence and tactical genius, a reputation he cultivates with ruthless precision. His army is a terrifyingly disciplined and mobile force, organized not by clan but by a decimal system. The Mongol cavalry, with their masterful horsemanship and powerful composite bows, were the most feared fighting force in the world. Their tactics were legendary. They would feign retreat to draw enemies into a trap, then turn and unleash a storm of arrows. They were not only expert horsemen but also masters of siege warfare, adapting quickly to enemy fortifications by employing captured engineers and innovative tactics like creating human shields out of captured prisoners. But his true genius lies not in sheer force, but in his use of psychological warfare. He systematically annihilates any city that resists him, often leaving only a handful of survivors to spread the terrifying tale of Mongol fury. This strategy creates a legend of terror that makes future enemies surrender without a fight, saving him from costly sieges and battles. His conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire in the early 13th century is a perfect example of this. After a Khwarezmian governor executes Mongol envoys, Genghis unleashes his full wrath, annihilating major cities like Samarkand and Bukhara, and turning the once thriving lands into a desolate wasteland. His goal is not just to conquer, but to annihilate all who oppose him, to crush their spirit and erase their existence from the map. The destruction was so total that many of these cities would not recover for centuries. The ultimate irony is that this bloody conquest gives rise to the Pax Mongolica, a period of unprecedented peace, trade, and cultural exchange across the vast landmass of Asia. By brutally eliminating rival powers and ensuring a single, centralized authority, the Mongol Empire created a safe and open network of communication and trade along the Silk Road. The man who destroyed empires also created a new world order, where goods, ideas, and people could travel from east to west with an ease never before seen, connecting civilizations and fostering a cultural exchange that would forever change the world. Marco Polo's famous journey would have been impossible without the stability created by the very empire that had caused so much destruction. It was during this period that technology, philosophy, and art flowed freely, accelerating the spread of innovations like gunpowder, paper money, and the compass from east to west. The final plot twist in Genghis Khan's story is that he is the architect of an empire that is far too big to last. He had spent his life meticulously building a unified state, but the very force that held it together, his singular, ruthless will, could not be replicated. After his death in 1227, the empire, the largest contiguous land empire in history, is passed down to his heirs. He had established a system of succession based on his descendants, but he had not accounted for the fierce rivalries that would inevitably emerge. The transition of power to his third son Gedai was fraught with tension, and the groundwork for future civil wars was already in place. The empire, despite its immense size, begins to fracture. Gedai, the first to rule, expands the empire into Eastern Europe and the Middle East. But after his death, the Mongol succession descends into a civil war between his descendants. The sheer size and diversity of the realm, with its different religions, languages, and cultures, make it impossible to govern effectively from one central point. The unity of the Mongol nation, so painstakingly forged in a single generation, begins to unravel in the next. Over the next few decades, the empire fractures into separate khanates, each ruled by one of his descendants. The Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, and the Yuan dynasty in China, founded by his grandson Kublai Khan. These khanates, once part of a single, unified empire, now begin to fight amongst themselves, undermining the very stability their founder had fought so hard to create. The Mongol rulers, once united under a single vision, now vie for power and influence, adopting the local customs and religions of the lands they had conquered. The Ilkhanate becomes a Persian dynasty, the Golden Horde a Turkic-Mongol one, and the Yuan dynasty is eventually overthrown by a Chinese rebellion. The unified Mongol identity that Genghis Khan had so brilliantly created begins to fade, replaced by a new political reality based on regional power and local tradition. The man who conquered the world could not conquer death, and his legacy is a testament to the fact that absolute power, once unleashed, cannot be contained. The vast empire he built, a testament to his singular genius, ultimately crumbles into a collection of warring states, unable to maintain the unity and iron will of its founder. The Mongol Empire, in its rise and fall, stands as a chilling and timeless cautionary tale about the devastating consequences of ambition, the fragility of unity, and the cyclical nature of power. His story, etched in blood and brilliance, is a stark reminder that even the most formidable of empires are ultimately fleeting, leaving behind only the echoes of their triumphs and the scars of their destruction.